on students is $75, but I don't know if there's any late fees attached to that or not. But you must have that. So you're not graduating in the spring, so I guess you have a little bit more time, but it's something that you can do anytime, I think, along in your program. So be sure you don't let that slip by in what you're doing. Okay, so we just want to, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, somebody, for reminding me about recording, Lauren.
I started it.
Did you start recording?
Yeah, I can't believe it let me do it.
Yeah, you're the co-host. All right, well, good.
Okay.
Then I won't need to do that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have done it without Lauren.
Okay, good deal. All right, so let's go to, I'm going to share my screen and go into your shell and the class shell, and let's just look at a couple of things here. Dr. Zans and I have been working on a few things today and reviewing some of your work and back through this shell, and we just kind of want to reiterate a few things that we did at the beginning 2 weeks ago. And that is, this menu over here to the left has everything that you need. So please be sure that you are, checking over here for all of those types of things. Your class weekly schedule is right here, and it has every week, but we have cut and pasted the particular week that right here in these Zoom week sessions. So this is week 3, and here is your weekly schedule for this week. And you have one additional resource here. So if you look at this, you have a discussion board, and there is a discussion board just about every week. So this goes along with some of your reading, and like Dr. Lamb said, your discussion boards are asking you to interview people, to meet with people, to find this and to find that and analyze this and so forth. And so we want you to have a lot of different experiences. So one of the things that I wanted to mention to you, most of you did a great job with the discussion board 1, but this is not like a little paragraph that you're writing about your opinion about whatever the topic is, okay? This should be like a good page in length where you are discussing that. If you had, like last week, you had to find your emergency plan, and you were supposed to analyze that emergency plan. You had some reading in your text, and you should have read that and referenced that text in your discussion board, along with, sort of talking about what your plan has and doing an analysis. Was it missing anything? Was it in good shape? Those types of things. So make sure that you are putting a lot of effort into your discussion board. Like I said, it's not a paragraph. It's not just your opinion. It is supposed to be based on the reading. So we would like for you to reference your reading, and we would like for you to reference any other resources that it calls for you to find. So be sure that you are following that information, and be very thorough in creating your document for your discussion board. Also this week, and so this assignment, this discussion board assignment, is a class assignment, and it is due on the Sunday of the week. So this discussion board 2 is due this coming Sunday, which is going to be February 2nd. Your OMA Task 1, you're supposed to upload that for peer and instructor review. And we mentioned to you that we wanted you to upload that in the internship shell for your CC2 at the same time that you're doing this. So this is all eyes on your first writing of the OMA Task 1, and this should be in there by Sunday evening. I've had a couple of people to go ahead and submit those. I've already responded to those students, and you can upload it anytime this week, but it should be in there by Sunday night. You have to complete 1 peer review, and we would like for you to use the same Zoom groups that you had last semester and just sort of rotate around in that group as you write those peer reviews.
And
Again,
I had to change mine
you changed yours?
because some people dropped out, so I sort of combined a group or two, but I sent those out this week.
Okay.
So I think it was yesterday that I sent it out. So you should have that new one. Some of you didn't have a change, but some of you did.
I think I asked if there were any problems. If you run into a problem, you know, finding who to do that with or whatever, let me know. But we just thought that you could manage, you know, doing that for each other during this course. You're going to start OMA Task 2 this week also, and you're going to finish up 1 and you're going to start 2. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit tonight. You also had some emails that went out this week from Dr. Zayons and I about your case studies. We need you to do a bang-up job with that presentation, because I think that maybe you guys are getting off a little lucky and only having to do 1. As I listened to Dr. Lamb, I think in some of the classes, everybody's doing all 4.
That's right.
So we want you to do a great job with your presentation here. And there is a lot of organization, and you need to be deciding who's going to be the leader in your group. You have your groups are listed here in this tab, and we sent some emails out and just chose somebody out of the group to sort of be the one to start the organization of that. But if that person doesn't want to be the leader, somebody else does, then you can elect your leader, set your timeline, and begin planning. None of those are due next week, so you do have a little bit of time, but there is going to need to be maybe 2 or 3 meetings of the group in order to get all of the research together and to, you know, finalize your presentation. So groups 1 and 2 present on February 17th, and 3 is on March the 2nd, and 4 and 5 will be on March the 30th. So those of you that are doing the first 2, you really need to get started. That's really not that far away. It's just 2 or 3 weeks away, and you might need that time for some of your Zoom meetings. Any questions about any of that? Okay, so let's talk about the OMA. The OMA is really, it's a big bear, and it's very hard to wrap your hands around it and your head around it. Not only is it, it's just a little bit, it's probably the most complicated one of all of the artifacts that you have to do. And not only that, it's the first one that you're doing in 603, and everybody wants you to be very independent. Okay, so that being said, we still are not going to give you an outline for you to just fill in the blanks. Okay, you have in your week 1, you have a template, you have you have a guide, you have an example. So you have several things to go by, and I've read all of them. You've read all of them probably several times, and you're trying to mesh it all together. But tonight, I want to give you just sort of a big picture about the whole OMA. Okay, really, we're looking at task 1 through 3. All right, because task 4 is where you're going to reflect on your competencies that you used through the OMA. So that piece, I think all of you you've been doing that in your other artifacts, so I think you'll be able to handle that fine. But 1 through 3 is about this. Task 1, the one that you've been working on the last couple of weeks, you are describing your school, is the context of your school. We want to know all about your school. Just the daily organization and the management of that school. Okay, things like the bell schedule and the arrivals and the dismissals and maybe some duty rosters. for staff. We want to know about the demographics. Who's in that building? We want to know the demographics of the students. We want to know the demographics of the teachers. We want to know all of the special populations that are there, all of the disadvantaged, the EC groups. We want to know about the AIG students. We want to know about the English language learners.
I don't want that. I'm fine.
So we want to know all about everything that's in your school. We want to know about special programs. Is there an after-school program? Is there a remediation program? Do you have a club day in your school? So we want to know all about just the context of the school, the daily operations, describing what life is like in that school. What could I see and find in that school? Task 2 is going to be all about, and you're also, as you're describing all of those things, we want you to talk about that internally and externally. Why are there any district mandates? Does the district say that every school has to have a PBIS program in their school? Does the district mandate that you have to have an after-school program? Anything that's happening in your school, if you can relate that externally to district mandates or state laws or federal laws, we want you to talk about that, okay? And then the task 2 is all about instruction. So we want you to do an analysis of the instruction in your school, because you're sort of going to be doing like a needs assessment. We want you to describe it all and critique it, okay? So you're going to talk about the master schedule. You're going to talk about how those EC students are scheduled and, how they're taken care of, how the way that you schedule it matches law requirements or mandates. We want you to talk about, all of the different groups, the English language learners, the AIG students, and we want you to describe all of the instruction. Now that could include things like the professional development, how prepared are the teachers to handle the instruction. Maybe there is new curriculums that are being put into place, and that content. Talk about that the students have to have so many hours of instruction, and they have core subjects, and they have specials classes, or they have electives that they go to, what some of those choices might be. So just describe everything about instruction, but you're also going to be critiquing that and relating it to anything external. That task 1 could also have PTO or any parent organization. The thing is, your school has lots of things. Every school has lots of things, and I might write the context about my school, and Dr. Zans might write the context of her school, and I might include X, Y, and Z, but she might include A, B, and C that I don't have. And so your papers aren't going to be judged against each other, and it's not about you must have this, this, and this. We just want a good picture of your school. Task 1 also would have things like discipline, attendance. What does all that look like in your school? Those types of things. But task 2 is all about instruction. So then when you get to task 3, you are going to write a plan. You're going to do a proposal to fix all of the gaps that you found. Anything that is not running smoothly in your school, maybe the way discipline is handled in your school, or maybe there's lots of tardies in your school, and those things are problems. Things that need to be fixed, you're going to put in this proposal. Anything to do with instruction, does there need to be more professional development for teachers to be able to handle the new curriculum or whatever might be going on? Do the EC students, are they are their classes all scheduled in the afternoons and they should be in the morning? What is there anything wrong with the instruction? Anything that could be improved for student achievement? We want you to address that. That's what you're going to be addressing in task 3. So that is a little bit of the big picture, but I know that you may have some questions about that individually, and we are happy to look at that and to entertain that. Are you watching the chat?
Yes, I was, and I actually put a thing out on chat to talk about when they're looking at programs and curriculum, they need to look at it in the context, like you said, of what things does the state require you to have, what things does your system mandate, what professional development is mandated by your system, and then what's left over that you get to do at the school level. So, you need to distinguish between those. And then, one thing, when you're looking for your deficit, one of the things, you might look back at the APTEL because it's similar to what you did in 1, 2, and 3 of the APTEL. So you might look back and get some ideas or data from that you could incorporate in this.
In task 2.
Yes, I'm a task 2, sorry.
Right, okay.
And let's see, there's one more thing. It'll come back to me. I forgot it, but it'll come back to me.
Are there some questions?
Oh, I know what it was. A lot of times the state, this may shock you, but this happens more than once. The state may require you to use a certain curriculum or a certain assessment tool. And then they're going to give you 5 minutes of professional development required that you attend on August the day before the students are coming, and that's all you get. And then all of a sudden you're thrown in the classroom and everything happens, and here you are doing running records or all kinds of assessments or something, and you really aren't confident in what you're doing. But that's it. You got what the state covered you, and you don't get any more. So it's things like that you need to look for, because in situations like that, that's when systems and principals, right, Dr. Whitaker, have to come up with the money for that extra PD that you need, because to fulfill that mandate.
So there's a question about where to find state and national data, or where to find those mandates. At your district office, your curriculum person, your CNI person at the central office should be able to help you with some of that. You also might find some of that on your school report card, or I think that would be the best place. Maybe the working condition survey. Is anything on there too?
I think there might be something on that, but you can also ask the staff, because if you teach 11th grade, you may not know what's required of 10th graders. So, if there's a lead teacher of each one, or in elementary, the requirements differ for K2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. But any curriculum person can help you find those.
Yeah. And your principal at your school should be able to direct you, because they are having to look at data, or maybe some of the instructional coaches in your school, because they're having to make some comparisons and so forth, and they probably meet as a central group in your district, and they may have access to some of that you don't have.
I was looking at some North Carolina school report cards last night, and they just have lots and lots of information in that school report card. Now, South Carolina, you have a different one, and you'll have to ask your principal or somebody that's been in the program, because I can't tell you exactly what it is. One of them is a climate analysis survey, but you have another one that's similar to the North Carolina school report card, and it's public information.
Okay. All right, any questions?
I will tell you this. I think the OMA is one of the most important, and I told you this in my meeting, but I think it's one of the most important artifacts in terms of information you need when you when you have an interview, you know, because if you are familiar with the organization and management of your school, that's pretty impressive because most of you are in a classroom. So you don't have a lot of exposure to that. So, so I think the OMA is important for that reason. And also just to help you put it all together because you don't know how it all works.
And being familiar with the school that you're in, if you're interviewing for another school across your district, you can go to their website and you know sort of what to pick and choose and look for when you're trying to know about that school. You're not just looking at it at a glance, you know specific things that you need to understand. And that would help you with that as well. Yeah. All right. Well, we don't want to keep you because we know you have a lot of work to do. You've got to get those OMA 1s in this week, and we want you to get a good start on OMA 2 because these are going to start coming pretty quickly. Yep, next week you have to do OMA 2, and the following week it's OMA 3. So, you know, there's no resting spots in here in the next few weeks. So we want you to spend your time doing some quality work. And we are here to support you. So if you need us, send us a text, send us an email, call us, and we'll be happy to try to, you know, support you and give you some feedback the best that we can.
And I just want to point out that if you haven't already done this, you really need to look at your personal calendar and look at that weekly schedule and start planning ahead because you're going to have some weeks where there's a ton of reading, 3 or 4 questions to answer in discussion board, and that's like a page a piece, and you're still working on artifacts. So this past week was like the easiest week you'll ever have, but it's really going to pick up speed. So don't let it roll over you because we see it all the time. Once you get behind, it is so hard. So hard to catch up. And we don't have a lot that we can offer you as far as, I mean, the incomplete policy is very strict. Withdrawals and so forth, it's hard to get back in. So you just don't need to make that an option. And when we give you a deadline too, it's not a suggestion, it's a deadline. So put those on your calendar and plan to get your stuff in when it's supposed to be in. And if you have questions about it, we're here to help you. Okay?
Good advice.
All right. All right. Well, everybody have a great day tomorrow.
Yes.
And Zachary, I'll see you Wednesday. All right. And the rest of you will be together Monday night, right, Sarah?
Yes. Monday night. It's our next class. So we'll have our regular class time at 7 o'clock on next Monday. So will you send us the recorded session?
I will.
Okay.
Thanks to Lauren.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.